Okay, so let's say you have this set up like I do, okay? So I'm using my fade outs, okay? My fade outs and my fade ins. All right, so I'm gonna click through these guys, okay? Let's say you're trying to design, you're working on your third screen, right? One of the things that you can do while you're actually designing is you can set the other screens to hide, okay? So let's say you're working on screen 3 and you don't want to see any other screens. You just want to you don't want to have to click through 3 screens to see your design, right? Your CSS. So what you can do is you can call a hide. I'm going to do this before my document ready function because I just want this to be happening when sorry, I don't want to wait for the document to load. I just want this to be happening. So what I can do here is I can just do a list with commas of all the things that I want to hide. So I could do this, 2, I want to style 3, and then just to be safe, I'll also hide 4. Okay? So you can hide multiple things on one line really easily like that. Okay, so now if I save and refresh, I should just see my third screen. And the only functionality that's working is when I click on screen 3, it hides screen 3. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? So that's going to help you out a lot for when you're styling things. And then the other thing that I want to highlight real quick, so I'm going to undo this, is I'm using this fade out and fade in, okay? Which gives you some really, really nice functionality. It's not just like a really quick hide or show. I know we all ran into an issue with just like our really preliminary exploration of jQuery when I get back to my screen 1, it's hidden already, right? I've already told it to hide. I told it to hide up here. And by the time I get down here, the state of that screen is still set to be hidden, right? So what can I do? What can I add to my jQuery to make that state come back in? Hint, it's in the code. Yeah, so I can explicitly add a fade in, okay? So what I've done is in this little function package here, right? Like this whole block of things to happen, things that will happen when I click on screen 4. I want to fade screen 4 out, and I want to fade in 1, okay? So you can go back to all your blocks of code, right? So the function for when you click on 1, you want to fade out screen 1, and you also want to fade in screen 2, okay? So this is going to be a fallback, right? So what this does is if there is a condition where when I click on screen 1, screen 2 has the state of hiding, then I can automatically undo that state of hiding, okay? So it's sort of like a foolproof. So now if I click through, I should see 1, 2, 3, 4, back to 1, then again to my second screen. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, so all I'm going to do is instead of just doing click this, hide it, I'm going to do click this, hide the thing I clicked, and then explicitly show the other thing. So I'm going to say this is going to do 3. That'll be a fade in. And then this one will be a 4. Okay, so now I should have the appropriate click behavior no matter how I'm clicking through it. So we should be able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, till infinity. Okay? Because what you're doing is you're explicitly telling that second screen how to behave no matter what its current state is. And do y'all understand what I mean by the state, right? So like the state is that you've assigned that screen the state of hide, right? So until you tell it to do something else, it's just like waiting for other directions. Okay, so you have to explicitly give it another direction, like, okay, I set you to hide 2 minutes ago, and now I want to interact with that screen again, so you have to explicitly tell it something to do. okay? And then just to reiterate what I was talking about earlier, there are other ways of hiding your screens, okay? So you can also, in the CSS, you can set your screens to display none. Okay, so this is page 1. So I just set in the CSS my first page to display none. So it hides it. Okay, does a really similar thing to hide. So what happens now when I go back? Why does screen 1 appear then? Right? So I set it to hide, it's hidden. Then when I click on screen 4, how does 1 come back into play? What's that? Well, I set it to not show, right? So why is it showing now? It's not a trick question. It's here. Why is it showing? Let's Priscilla, let's get an affirmative response. Or Alyssa. Yeah, so because I have this 1 here, right? I have this 1 fade in. You can set the state to hide or show of a given div in either HTML or, either CSS or jQuery, okay? So that hide and the display none is essentially the same thing. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, so long story short, you have 2 different ways of doing that. The display none, though, opens up possibilities for you for how you're going to be positioning things. So if you have in CSS all of your screens set to display none, you don't necessarily have to use this position absolute. You can style screen 1 exactly how you want and have the other 3 set to display none. Then you could put display none on screen 1, do display block on screen 2, and then style that one exactly how you want it. Okay, does that make sense, everybody? So long story short, if you're having wonky positioning issues, you might want to think about using display none, and then the undo, the show of display none is display block, right? Because things display block like automatically on the web. Does that make sense to everybody? Do you want me to show you a quick example of what I'm talking about? Yeah, okay. So what we could do, I'm gonna get rid of 2 and 3 right now, and I'm just gonna show you this on 1 and 2, okay? So I don't necessarily have to do this position absolute, right? Because what position absolute does is if you put something inside of it, then you're gonna have to absolutely position that thing inside of it, right? What this allows me to do is it allows me to just get rid of that altogether. Okay, so I'm gonna set 2 to display none. Did I not? I didn't save. Okay. Okay, so here's my opening screen. Okay, check it out. It is automatically just behaving exactly how I want it to behave, right? Without the absolute and the 0, 0. Because it's just at the top of the page. It's the only thing on the page. So I could do the same thing here, right? If I have these 2 stacking, let me just show you. Okay, I have these 2 stacked, right? So this one, the top left position of it is actually whatever the height is of this, right? It's pushed down by 180. Does that make sense? Okay. So if you wanted it to be in that top position, right, to go right at the top of the screen, really all you would have to do is just get rid of that first screen, and it will automatically be right at the top. Are y'all following me? Okay, so long story short, there's really no reason, Carlos, oh, he's not even in here, and I'm trying to pick on him, to set everything to position absolute, okay? Position absolute is not a good way to style scalable websites, okay? You want to do everything that you can to not use position absolute, because position absolute, you lose the relationship to other content, right? The whole idea of scalability is to have your different elements of your page align in the same way on different size screen in relationship to the other elements, right? Y'all following me? So if you break that, then things get really crazy and really messed up. There are times when you want to break it, you want this logo to always stay here no matter what's happening, but most of the time you want your content to be fluid and scalable, okay? So I would highly recommend working not with position absolute. And then when you do your display none, right? Check it out. Display none, it just sets the state to hidden. I can still use jQuery in the exact same way as if I had everything set to hide. So when I come here, now that I broke everything, let me see what I'm doing. Okay. So I want one to show when I come here, and then when I click on it, because of the way that I have it set up in jQuery, this screen is going to automatically hide, and I don't have any positioning on it. I just have a width and a height because it's going to go at the top of the page. Okay? Any questions about that at all?